Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Healing Conversations. My name is Ainav Avni, and today I have the pleasure of introducing Martin Gillespie. I always go wrong. Martin, welcome. It's so lovely to have you here.
Thank you, and it's great to be here actually, and I really welcome the opportunity to be back on your show.
I know you're probably one of the only ones that been. This is your second time on the show. A lot of water have passed in this river since we last met, and also the podcast now niche down from healing conversations to healing conversations for anything chronic. And we really want to bring this message that you can heal yourself naturally if you just really find your way, expand your thinking, or basically get introduced to all these people like yourself that have fascinating things to share with us. So let's get with it. Let's get started with the end in mind. And what is it that we really want listeners to get from the conversation today? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that we really want them to know today.
Okay, so I operate from a place where trying to educate people on the value of their most important asset in life, and that's their health. We are all too busy with looking after the kids, all too busy going to work, working, coming back from work. But we spend very little value on a day-to-day basis on the most important asset in our lives, and that's our health, our metabolic health. And when I mean metabolic health, I'm talking about how we sleep, what we eat, our relationship with our oral health, our gut health, our mindset, and more importantly, the language that we actually tell ourselves is critical as well. If you
Mhm.
say, oh, you're a loser, you're an idiot, you've got trillions of cells in your body that are hearing that. You might be thinking it. So what does that do to your body? It makes you play small. It lowers your vibration, your vitality. And every single day, we have the opportunity to be our CEO, our Chief Energy Officer of over 30 trillion cells in our gut. Yet we feed it with crap food. And when we feed it with crap food, what do you think that does to our brains? What do you think that does to our vitality in life? So I'm on a mission to try and change people's perception around health. And a big call out right at the start of it, I always hear, oh, but I don't have time. So
Mm.
I question your listeners here. Start having a look at how much time you spend on your mobile device on social media. Take a fraction of that and start taking some time to look after your health.
Mhm. And I mean, I heard that before, the time question, and some people, admittedly, I do wonder how they manage. But the question of time is one thing. The question of what to do is the next one. How do we know what to change or what to start doing more of in order to get back into this health and getting the energy back?
So, first couple of things, and you make a really good point there. First couple of things is actually taking a moment or two to go, I want to change. So you change it's working on your mindset. I want to change. And a
Mm.
little tool that I do with a lot of my clients on a one-on-one basis, particularly if I'm doing it online, I will ask them to take a photograph of the contents of their fridge,
Hmm.
right? And send it to me. And then I can
Okay.
actually personalize what they are eating and actually work with them. But more importantly, get them to tell me why they're buying certain foods or certain products, whether it be in their fridge or in their pantry, wherever they keep what they believe is food. That's one of the fundamental steps because everybody thinks that they are eating healthy. And to be honest, if I had a dollar for or a pound or a euro, whatever currency, people say, but I eat really well. and then you start looking at what they're eating, then there's a very, very big difference.
Yeah. Yes. As you were saying that, I was mentally thinking about my fridge, and I was like, the fridge might get away with it, but yes, when you mentioned the pantry, not sure that would pass.
So it's funny because a lot of households, for example, two key ones that are very prevalent here in the UK: ketchup and mayonnaise. Now, ketchup, a bottle of ketchup, which is about 500 mils or 300 mils, sorry, half of that is sugar.
Right.
Now, regardless, if you're just putting a little squirt at the side of your plate or over your food, that's sugar. That's inflammation happening as soon as you consume it. If you're taking mayonnaise, store-bought mayonnaise, whether it be low-fat or whole egg mayonnaise that you can buy in the supermarkets, the third or fourth ingredient is what you call a seed oil. Whether it be vegetable oil, canola oil, or even a thing called rapeseed oil. Again, they cause massive inflammation into your gut.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start breaking those things down and you go, why are you buying it? And it becomes habitual as to why you're buying them. When you start eliminating those things, that's when you start taking a pathway to understand the benefits and the importance of real food.
Let's go a little bit backwards, because I definitely want to understand. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, habits and ease of, trying to make life a little bit easier with time, and a lot of, these things that you are now trying to change, actually, and to bring more awareness of, which I think is, of course, fantastic. But I want to understand a little bit more about you and your story, and where did this interest come from, and how did you make this decision for yourself that this is an important thing to bring forward and to make your mission?
So there were probably three key areas there. I remember when I was in my teenage years, and I was living here actually in Glasgow, brought up in a family house, and I was one of 5 kids, so I was a middle child. And I was about 12 or 13 at the time, and my mum was unwell. We couldn't work out what was wrong with her. So she was quite depleted of energy. So I took it as my task, like my siblings did other tasks, I took it on my task to actually make sure that we got fed at night time. So that sort of brought in a sort of love of cooking. Now, certainly different to what I'm cooking now, I have to say, right? But when you've got 5 kids and 2 adults you have to cook for, you're cooking with the utilities that you have, i.e. my parents would have bought the food. I didn't buy the food, but it was in the freezer or in the fridge, and I would throw things together in order that my family could eat on a daily basis. So that was probably my first gateway into understanding about food. And so much so that I actually went to university, and my first degree is in hotel management with nutrition, because I was really interested in what do you feed people who work on the oil rigs, particularly in the North Sea, in the northern part of Scotland, where food is not just about what you eat, it's a vehicle for communicating with other people. That biblical term of breaking bread together is so important, because food is not just what you consume into your mouth, it's how we eat, who we eat with, who we sit next to. And we learn all of this at school as well. However, my pathway, that took me on a certain pathway. And then my career went a different direction. And then 12 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And that was a wake-up call. And although I went through the standard treatment of care, which was at that time chemotherapy and 2.5 years of drugs, chemotherapy drugs that is, I took it upon myself to actually understand what are the root causes here that, one, have made me ill, and 2, there is a medical aspect that food is medicine, let medicine be thy food. So I tried for a couple of years I would work with dietitians and nutritionists around when I was going through chemotherapy. A lot of the chemotherapy drugs deplete you of essential minerals and vitamins. Plus, there's a lot of stress happening in your life. You're going through chemotherapy, for God's sake. It's a pretty arduous task. And at that time, I was also going through a relationship breakdown. So you've got stress upon stress. You're not sleeping very well. And I have to be honest, one of the easiest ways to deal with all of that stress is consuming alcohol. So you're consuming alcohol, you've got high oxidative stress, and you've also got chemotherapy. So you kind of go, which one's working, which one's not? And I recall one of the downsides of chemotherapy with certain drugs, and it's amplified when you deplete your body of certain minerals, you can get a thing called peripheral neuropathy. And the best way to describe that is, if you or your listeners recall a thing called pins and needles, we would say in the UK. You get that tingly feeling in your fingers, or when it's really cold and the tips of your fingers are really, really cold. Well, peripheral neuropathy is really a lack of blood flow to the extreme areas of your toes and fingers. I had that for quite a while. And what I found really frustrating was my kids were about 6 and 4 at the time. I couldn't play Lego. I didn't have the neuron skills to put 2 pieces of Lego together. And I found that really frustrating and really heartbreaking, that you're doing your best and you're trying to put a mask on to camouflage what you were feeling, especially in front of your kids. And that's when I went, wait a minute, there's got to be a different pathway. So I went back to basics, went back to my love of food, but I also had to relearn, if that makes sense as well. And I was living in Australia at the time, and I got involved in a community there called Australasian College of Nutritional and Environmental Medicine. And I studied with them for several years. And that gave me qualifications and credentials that put me on par with a lot of the medical profession in Australia. So you could take these tools, and it wasn't just about nutrition. There were so many other elements there. However, it also opened my pathway to sort of go, I want to learn even more. So I took it upon myself to become a clinical nutritionist, and also to go even further. And I've learned an amazing protocol, which is based in California, called the Bredesen Protocol, which is a protocol to prevent Alzheimer's decline and dementia. And now I'm beginning to understand that dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, and autoimmune disease all present very similarly in the gut, and they can be prevented by good nutrition.
It's it's so interesting for me, because especially now that you're mentioning dementia and Alzheimer's and all of that, we really, I think the person on the street, we think about the brain, and we think about what's happening there, and how dead cells, and maybe the inability to to renew cells or whatever that basically cause dementia or other illnesses like that, regardless if this is the truth or not, right? This is the kind of the general understanding of people, but then actually what you're saying is that this is not the first place that we necessarily need to look at. We actually need to look at the gut. We need to see what it is that, it's like taking a step backwards and going into the place that maybe we can still make a lot of changes in, or influence most.
Hugely. You're in control of everything you eat, right? No one else controls it. And I would go further, actually. There's a brilliant piece of work that's happening now around when we look at our physical body. Your gut, when you stand up, your gut is the central point of your physical being. If that's out of sync, and if that's not feeling well, your whole body's not going to be balanced or operate optimally. But there is fabulous work coming out now around not just the gut brain. So your gut, in my opinion, is on par with your brain up here. But there's a bit that connects both your brain and your gut, and that's your mouth. We forget your mouth is the first point of contact with any substance that we take. And when you think about it, that breaks down all the nutrients, all the foods. And, unfortunately, it's all too easy to buy foods that we think are going to be good for us because they're well marketed, or they have a 5-star rating on them, or they have all this information. And I'm going to call out an area which is huge: breakfast cereals. Breakfast cereals, I would rather eat the cardboard box in breakfast cereals than actually eat the breakfast. Now, I ate breakfast when I was a kid. I ate breakfast cereals when I was little. Don't get me wrong. But if you can swap the breakfast cereals for things like eggs, that will start giving you the best nutrients, i.e. the good fats and good proteins for good health.
Is that also, we're not just talking about, the sugary ones that we're talking about. We're also talking about things like bran flakes and things that are fiber rich and all of that.
Yep, anything. One of the best things that you can do to start on your pathway for good health: avoid the cereal aisle in the supermarket
Altogether, including porridge.
So porridge is a great example, actually, and I always laugh at porridge because it's associated a lot with Scottish people for some reason.
Yeah.
If you take porridge and you buy it in the supermarket, and if you put it in with either milk or water, what happens when you put that liquid onto it?
Well, I guess the oats float, or do you mean afterwards when it all becomes like a
expands, right?
Okay, yes.
when you consume them into your mouth, they expand again, and as they're going through your gut and through your stomach, those oats have been sprayed with a lot of chemicals, right? So when you're consuming them, they are causing, if you want to look at it from a visual point of view, they're causing what you would say rust on your gastro tract, right? Your large colon. So when you're consuming them every day, over a tenure of 10, 15, 20 years, and that's why people get ill as we age. We eat these products in our 20s and 30s or even younger. As we age, we are causing that declining in our body. Therefore, we're aging on the inside.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. I have a very clear mental image now of what you just said. So, okay, there are going to be some changes here. But you're saying eggs are good way of starting the morning or starting the day. What else? I guess there's people that don't eat eggs. What is another alternative that people can have?
I want to take you a little step further. Why do you think we need to eat breakfast in the morning?
Well, that's the energy for the day, right? That's what people are saying.
So it's incredible. So that phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, is a marketing phrase, and the origins of it, believe it or not, are from one of the leading breakfast cereals, Kellogg's. Right? So when you think about it, you've eaten your last meal. Say you had your last meal or your last food substance, say around 7 o'clock in the evening. And you may have done some things. You may have watched TV. You may have done some things at home. But that food that you've eaten that night provides you with so much energy. It's made you sleep. It's still lying in your stomach, if that makes sense. So the nutrients are still there. So there really is very little evidence that we should be eating breakfast until around 11 or 12 o'clock in the day. Because our body has to release what you call glycogen, which comes from our liver and pancreas. They all talk to each other during the night.
Mm-hmm.
They've stored the energy that we need to be mobile, to be working, and to be alert.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're adding more food onto that, that's when you start walking down a pathway of what you call insulin resistance. You're adding too much that your liver is roughly the size of your hand if you want to do it that way, and it works 24/7. It doesn't sleep. So when you're adding more stuff, and particularly if you are, back to the breakfast cereals, if you're adding sugary stuff onto it, guess what? That's going to spike your blood sugar levels. It's going to put you in a high, and then you crash and burn in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm. How does the person in the street, how can they know all of these things? I mean, it's so easy to make these mistakes, right? Like you say, we are very much influenced by marketing and all of that, and how and also years of misinformation. How do we have all of this at disposal that we actually make the right decisions for ourselves?
So that's where I see the vehicle for people like myself, and there's a whole array of what you call health coaches. It's a worthwhile investment. We spend time with clients, or the person who would come to us. We don't call them patients, we call them clients. And we will go through this from a personal point of view, so we can help embrace you with the tools that are right for not just you, but also your surroundings. So I know, for example, you've got your kids at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have my kids here, so I know what works for me. So I need to know what's going to work in your structure, because it's got to be personalized. And that's key to a pathway of good metabolic health.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely recommend that. I think that's it is definitely needed. I can see, and also all the various people I've been talking with, there's so much confusions and so much, people make their own decisions, right? They make their own decisions based on whatever, their own past and things that they researched or understood or assumed, all of that. And so I understand, I agree that really, find someone to work with that really can open it up, that can shed more light, that basically take away the guesswork, so that you can really get the right answers for you. And especially when people are ill or going through a healing journey, that could be so beneficial. So I definitely recommend getting in
It
touch.
can be, and one of the key things where I call out for working with people like myself, etc., and health coaches, we don't just look at the nutrition. If you're going through a healing journey, say you have been medically diagnosed with an illness, we will look at the impact of what those drugs or supplements are actually doing to you. We will look at your blood tests. We will work with you, and I also work with other collaboration,
Mm-hmm.
a collaboration of others in health. So if I don't know the answer, I will reach out to other people and go, help me with this. So we will break that down, because it is your body. Now, we need to know a full history of you. So we need to go back to your 20s, your 30s, or whatever age you are, because there'll be something there that has an impact on your health.
Mm.
So I'll give you an example. If you're a female and you've been on the contraceptive pill in your early teens, I was going to say early teens. So one of the downsides about modern medicine, if you're a young lady and you're going through your menstrual cycle, and then you're 15, 16, and you're getting a lot of menstrual pain, you go to the doctors and they'll prescribe the pill to you, right? Which really does switch off a lot of the female hormones, right?
Yeah.
But also that has a massive impact on what you call the iron and ferritin levels in your blood, because a lot of the syntheticness of the contraceptive pill that is available here in the UK is very heavy copper. And when you've got too much copper in your gut, copper is a primary mineral. Therefore, it's not allowing your iron and ferritin levels to increase. So a lot of people, a lot of young ladies who are on the pill, if they're not eating properly and eating a lot of ultra-processed foods, become anemic.
Mm. For me, just, listening to everything that you're saying, and it's like, it's really like a veil is lifting, and really understanding how we have no idea. The person in the street, me, we don't know, because we never thought about it. We never researched it. We never had a conversation with someone like yourself. So it just really, again, I guess, brings to home how important it is to have these conversations with someone like you, because we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? We can go to you, that you already found a way of how to use the wheel, and get the right advice and help to the specific journeys of each of the listeners. So I want to go back now, to where we were before. So first of all, you still owe me an answer about the eggs. Yes. What is the alternative for eggs if someone is not
if
having
you're
them?
not able to, so my question would also be, there are very few people who cannot take eggs, right? So
No, I think it's a decision, like religious or vegan or something.
So if you are a vegan, and I'll be really honest here, if you are a vegan, you're starving yourself to death,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're not getting enough nutrients, and you will have to go down a supplementation path, and that will cause a lot of dysfunction in your gut. Your body will not thrive. I'll give you an example. If you broke a bone, it's going to take longer to heal. If you scratch yourself, it's going to take longer to heal.
Mm-hmm.
If you cut yourself, if you're chopping things and you cut your finger, it's going to take longer to heal, because you don't have the mechanisms in your body to absorb healing. Back to your eggs point of view. If you cannot take eggs, I would suggest, so I would be looking at trying to find out why, if it's a methylation problem, if it's a religious aspect. There are very few religions that I know of that don't eat eggs. There are one or two religions that will not eat beef, but they will eat goat, for example, and they will eat lamb, and they will eat chicken. So I respect that. However, if you're not eating a natural meat product, you are giving your body and your energy levels a disservice on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't eat meat, if you can't eat eggs, eat meat. And there's a selection of meats that you can eat. Meats contain all the natural amino acids we need on a daily basis. There are no other food substances that provide that.
And then I guess you're going to say that the processed meat that we have in the supermarket is a no-no, but actually go and find the organic way of raised meat to get.
So one of the benefits here in the UK, the majority of meat available in supermarkets is grass-fed, right? And that covers from the high-end supermarkets to the I was going to say to the bargain basement ones, the Lidl, the Aldi's, the everyday ones. I'm failing my words there to describe them, but they sell some great meats. I buy a lot of meat out of Lidl because it's grass-fed. The other key thing, we're recording this and it's August time, but one of the key things, in order to be mindful of costs, one of the investments you can do is you can invest in, we call it in the UK and in Australia a slow cooker. In the US, it's known as a crock pot. The benefit of that is that you can, if you become friendly with your local butcher, you can buy the cheaper cuts of meat and put them in a slow cooker for a longer period of time. I'm talking between 8 and 20 hours, right? And they are delicious. And the one major benefit of doing that is you also get the juice, which is called the broth. And that is so full of collagen. And for those vain women out there and vain men out there, you want your skin to look good, start taking bone broth.
I heard really good things about bone broth. Like it's really someone in particular that she was talking about having chronic constipation, and she was describing something about to do with the bone broth, that she was really consuming that on a daily basis to help that, and I believe that it was very beneficial for her. I'm saying that and I'm like, what you gonna say about that?
Well, it's funny actually, going back to your point actually about eggs and about what I mentioned about your first meal of the day, where I feel that an awful lot of people misinterpret is adults. One of the first things that we might do, and when I say might, we've all done this. We get up in the morning, go to the bathroom, and we'll grab a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. So my call out, and here's a very simple hack that we should be doing on a daily basis. I have here a glass. It's about 300-400 mils. That's had filtered water in it, and a tablespoon of good quality salt.
Right.
Now, I'm not talking of the table salt that you can buy in the supermarkets. You need to spend a couple of pounds on getting a good quality salt. And there are things like Celtic salt, Redmond salts, and in the UK, it's a thing called Malden. It's in a sort of green packaging. Now, I've got no allegiance to any of these salts, but putting
What
a
about the
tablespoon...
Himalayan ones?
Himalayan is fine.
Yeah,
Himalayan is great. Again, my challenge is look at where you're sourcing it from, because some of them, there's Himalayan and there's crap Himalayan, if that makes sense. That was probably made in Sheffield. No disrespect to Sheffield, but it could have been made in Sheffield, not in the Himalayas, right? So start reading the labels on origins of the product. But the ones that I mentioned, I know are very good quality. And what that salt does is it replaces the minerals that we have lost during our sleep. That also activates our inner organs for the day in an optimal way. So you mentioned, if you've got constipation or IBS or bowel challenges, that's saying that your body doesn't have enough minerals in it. By replacing it with salt, good quality salts on a daily basis, over time, your body is retuning itself from the inside.
It's so interesting, listening to what you're saying, because it feels like the doctors should know all of these things, and they should be able to advise things, not just sending you to, of course, to the Western medicine and all of that, tablets and pills that are just overloading the system. But these things should be really, I don't know, be more available. It's yes. I guess I'm listening to what you're saying and thinking about so many different people I've spoken with, and how they don't realize it. I mean, I also didn't realize it, that yes, water with salt. I have heard of water and salt in the morning, but I didn't realize that this is really to help replenish your body with your minerals that you've lost. I mean, it's so important.
Water is so important. And here in the UK, we don't drink enough water. Now, drinking tea or coffee does not constitute the amount of water that we drink, if that makes sense. I love my coffee, and I'm sure you like your coffee or tea. One of the downsides about coffee and tea, coffee in particular, is that it has the potential to deplete you of many minerals, and in particular, magnesium. If you're depleted of magnesium, that pathway between your gut and your brain increases the level of anxiety. So when you think about it, how many times have you said, and I know you've got teenage kids, but have a magnesium bath or go into the ocean, because you need those minerals to calm your nervous system down. And if you're drinking 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day, you're also causing yourself a big disservice. And I call out, if you've got teenage kids in particular who are driving towards the high energy drinks, regardless of time of day, they seem to go in the afternoon, but I've seen people drink them at 7 o'clock in the morning. They are toxic chemical, I'm going to swear here, I'm sorry, chemical shitstorms that are happening to your body. And they are a major contributive factor for the mental decline of kids. And I'm going to say kids, but it can be of any age. But they're very well marketed to that 12 to 25-year-old, I would say.
Yeah, no, yeah. I guess luckily for us, we I don't think any of us ever tried them, but magnesium, I'm curious about that. So, I mean, how? Because again, the connection that you're making with magnesium and anxiety, that's the thing. Again, something that is really important to highlight. So, I once went to health shop with my mum, and her doctor said she needed to get some magnesium, and there was about 15 different types of magnesium, one with zinc and one with vitamin, I don't know, DK or what, something. And again, it's what is the word, minefield of information out there. So what can we do, at the simplest, lowest level, if we want to get more magnesium in the body?
So you bring up some really important points here. Stay off Dr. Google or Professor Google, if that makes sense, when you look down the magnesium pathway, because you rightly said there are so many different types. A big call out before you start any type of supplementation: go and see a health coach to see what's going to work for you. But again, a call out before you supplement: eliminate those things that are making you ill in the first place. Magnesium is depleted in a lot of the foods that we have now in our ecosystem. To replace them is quite difficult without supplementation. But one of the pathways, and I know that you quite like this, one of the pathways that can have an impact on the behaviors of what magnesium can do in your body is through the power of meditation. Having a calm mind and having that ability to calm your nervous system down can have a similar impact to that of magnesium in your body. So think differently, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I didn't see that one coming.
if your magnesium is that mineral of calmness, right? So, for example, again, not being gender here, but most time women, they might get a thing called restless leg syndrome. You're lying in bed and your legs moving, etc. That's because you don't have enough magnesium. With what I was saying about adding the salt first thing in the morning, that has a very small amount of magnesium, but over time, it can be the right way. But be really mindful. You bring a whole conversation itself around supplementation. It's got to be personalized. And I think that one of the key call-outs I would be saying is work with a health coach to work out the personalized pathway that is right for you. Because you could spend a bloody fortune in a lot of health shops, and your mind is saying, oh, I've just spent X amount of pounds on it. It must be good, but it might not be the right one for you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's really fascinating for me, like I said, really to to really understand a little bit more how we constantly, without, if we don't know, and if we don't work with someone like yourself, how easy it is to make the wrong decisions, even if we think that actually, we are okay, or that we're eating healthily, and all of that. So the beginning of the conversations, we spoke about the gut, of course. We spoke about the wards, just mentioned it briefly. How are you? There was one something else that you mentioned, but it escapes me. But there was three things, and I'm wondering, how do we tie them all together to make sure that we are all, we're doing a little bit better than where we are at the moment.
So the first thing that I would say is be kind to yourself. If you are going to go down a pathway of actually taking ownership and responsibility for your biggest asset in life, and that's your health, kindness is probably the best way to start. And a little tool that I advocate is every morning we do a thing called brushing your teeth, right? But what I believe that we should be doing is taking your left hand, putting it over your right shoulder, and giving yourself a pat in the back, and using the vibration of language. As you're doing that, just say to yourself, I am brilliant. And the letter R causes this epigenetic change throughout your whole body. It puts a smile on your face that day.
But you have some advantage with the Scottish accent, right?
So you can practice all your Scottish accents. And the other key thing is at night time, you can reverse that. As you brush your teeth at night time, reversing your right hand over your left shoulder, and in a quiet, calming voice, saying, I am grateful. Now, I also want to give you a little tip here. Most of us have a dominant arm or a dominant hand that we brush our teeth with. For me, it's my right hand. A little tip, if you start brushing your teeth with your non-dominant arm, you are taking a 2-minute pathway to improve your cognition.
Yes. I have heard that before when I was interviewing someone about dementia, and she was saying exactly that. If you do things that you don't do on automat, the more you do that, the more you're creating new pathways and basically helping improve cognition, but also slow down signs of dementia. So
yeah, and the beauty about doing this is if you've got young kids and they see you doing it, you're developing their unilateral skills from a young age. Then it becomes a norm, and they start that ripple impact. In the school playground, they'll start going, oh, I brush my teeth with my left hand. Boom, right? If they're right-handed. So you create that little bit of fun about taking ownership of your health.
Yeah. And again, I'm just trying to imagine, I'm going to do that because I'm right-handed, and I'm just thinking brushing with my left hand, it's going to be quite hilarious, actually.
Oh, like the first couple of times you do it, be prepared. You're going to have your toothpaste up here. You're also going to be unaware of how strong your non-dominant arm is, and don't be alarmed if your gums start bleeding because you push too hard.
I'm going to try that. It's really, yes, it's going to be really funny, but as you say, also really, really good. Martin, we got coming towards the end of the conversation, but I really do feel that we could spend here days actually talking about all of this. What is a couple of things that you think our listeners should really take away from today, if they haven't worked with a health coach before, and this is all new to them, but they are going through a healing journey, or maybe even they haven't made the connection between gut health and healing? What are some things that are really important place that they can start?
So I think one of the key things is not to delay. It doesn't have to wait until Monday. It can start today, and it can start with very small steps. And if we look at it now, we're in the middle of the year. We're in August, and I'm not sure when this will go out or if it's live, but we're in August. A great incentive is how are you going to feel at the turn of the year or at Christmas time if you celebrate the Christian value of Christmas? How are you going to feel if you've taken control of your health, if you've lost a couple of pounds or a couple of kilos, or you feel better because you start doing these small steps of taking control of your health?
I think that's always interesting when we stop focusing on right now and start opening it up to, like we say, the turn of the year or a year from now or something like that. It's always a very interesting conversation.
And a little one, for those who are fortunate enough to work in, say, a corporate environment where they do have private healthcare, or, if you're in a relationship with someone, so say you're in a relationship with a significant other, you've got two major dates that are very, very important. Well, you've probably got more than two if you're married, or, an anniversary date, but your birthday is a great day. That is your day. Now, most people will go out and celebrate. My call out is on your birthday, a bit like when you take your car to be serviced. Go and check in with a good health coach, a good oral hygienist, and a good functional preventative health practitioner on your birthday. It's the best gift you can have. Now, if you're in a relationship and you say that to your significant other, again, you're going to cause that ripple impact and that pride that they're going to have with the fact that you're taking ownership of your health with their support. Enormous.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I like that. I was just yes, I was thinking about that. As you were saying that, I was thinking, I got an email from my GP to say it's time to do some complementary blood tests, and I was thinking I've delayed that for a while, but I think I should take them up with it, so at least I have I understand, I know where I am.
Look, if you want, I will send you a list of the blood tests that I would love for you to get, and so that. If you don't mind, I'll call out a couple of blood tests. If you are receiving information to go and get a blood test, ask for your vitamin D, but ask for one called HbA1c. That's your hemoglobin blood account, right? That tells you how much sugar has been in your bloodstream over the last 3 months.
Right. Not sure.
That is a great biomarker.
I'm not
To
sure
actually start talking about what we've discussed around toxicity, around insulin. That is a great biomarker. And one of the fun things I like doing when I'm working with personalized coaching is that you take that and then you get it 6 months or 12 months later and you see the difference.
And it makes me think that, it sounds like one that should be available before you even ask, right? The same as cholesterol, for example. But it's
so
one that
cholesterol is, I'm going to swear here, cholesterol is a bullshit one. You have to be looking at triglycerides, right? Cholesterol, the majority of I mentioned about lazy doctors putting young ladies on the contraceptive pill. A lot of lazy medics will look at the blood test and within 10 minutes convince you to go onto what you call a statin. Because they'll say you've got high cholesterol. Nope. And that's where you've got to be working a bit more holistically and go, what else is happening? And that opens the whole Pandora box on why you should be working with a health coach, not to lower your cholesterol, but actually to improve the optimal health of you.
Minefield, I think I said, and I think I'll still use that. But thank God there's people like you that really understand it. And wow, I'm very impressed with all the knowledge and wisdom that you've accumulated over the years. To be able to just to have it all on the tip of your tongue, really. One little question: we didn't actually mention exercise. what are we thinking about exercise?
So exercise is critical. Sedentary lifestyle really is the new smoking. So finding an exercise that works for you. And I think that one of the great things here in the UK is a thing called Park Run every Saturday in various locations. Now, don't let the run away with your brain. You can walk around it. And the majority of them have got hundreds of people turning up, from the age of babies in prams to 90-year-old people. The wonderful aspect, one, it's free. Two, it provides a connection and that sense of purpose. And also, it can be fun that you can call your mates up and go, meet me at 9:30, at 9:20 to do this thing at 9:30, and we'll go for a coffee after it. And you can get, it's a 5 kilometre or 3 miles. You can get 3 miles done every Saturday, but you're bringing that connection. And that is a great tool that people should be using.
Yes. You have mentioned that before, and yes, I have a friend that does that religiously every week, and he has said exactly that. Let's meet and do it together, and then go for coffee after. Maybe that's the reminder that I needed. Tell me if you have, before we finish for the day, a success story of someone that you've worked with that helped to ideally, reverse or overcome a serious illness, but any success story that comes to mind from someone that you've worked with.
Yeah, sure. So there's a gentleman that comes to mind, and through working with me, he was clinically obese. He did swim a lot, but he had been on medication for type 2 diabetes. And within a short period of time, and I'm talking 6 to 9 months, he's on no medication and he's lost half his body weight.
Amazing.
He's thriving. And just the whole re-education, if that makes sense. And his mindset is, there is no way. This is a big thing, that type 2 diabetes isn't sexy, if that makes sense. But if you are prone to type 2 diabetes, or you have been told you are pre-diabetic, you're on a pathway for what you call metabolic dysfunction. And that's a 60% increase for dementia and cancer. You don't want any of them.
No. Why is it not sexy?
So it doesn't sell newspapers. Type 2 diabetes sells great drugs. And the pharmaceutical world want you to take these drugs. They don't want you to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, to your point about exercise, one key exercise, which I don't think people revere enough as well, is people have this mindset, can't go outside, it's pouring with rain, whatever. But you can still exercise. Making sure that you stretch your body frequently, several times a week, is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the master of that. You're able to do that. And if you start doing that, you will feel your body, and your posture changes, and your confidence level changes.
Mm-hmm.
And people start going, what the hell are you doing? And you're taking simple acts every single day.
Yeah. In your opinion, is there any illness or anything, any sorts of illness that change of nutrition or gut health can't improve, let alone maybe heal completely?
So
No.
So that's a very, very difficult question to answer, because there are genetic aspects involved. So if you take certain cancers, there is a small percentage, and I'm talking about 7 to 10% are genetic, and they are very, very difficult to ascertain. But I can talk personally from cancer. I've gone through cancer myself, and I also lost a loved one to cancer many years ago as well. Cancer is caused by what you call metabolic dysfunction, and that's over amount of glucose and a lack of glutathione in your body. Now, glutathione, when you're getting a blood test, for example, you don't get blood tested for glutathione, you get blood tested for selenium. You have to ensure that you have good selenium in your body. It's a great way to ensure that you are not on a pathway for metabolic dysfunction. Actually, I'm going to leave you with another little tip, actually, just for those people who sort of go, right, okay, well, I eat, I buy vegetables and I buy fruit, etc. When you buy your fruit and vegetables and you bring them back, please make sure that you're buying in-season fruit and vegetables if you are going down that pathway of eating them. Go to the supermarket and invest in a tub of bicarbonate soda. When you bring them back, put them into your kitchen sink and wash them in a spoonful of water and bicarbonated soda. What that does is it takes the glyphosate off the fruit and vegetables and reduces the toxic load on them.
I love that. I'm going to do that straight away with my latest latest food that
And
I got.
even if you're buying organic and getting them delivered to your home, will do you no harm. Wash your vegetables, dry them, and then put them into the fridge or wherever you keep them. Yeah. You're reducing the toxic load, and that is critical. And again, that's a whole new area that you cannot eliminate everything, but what you can do is reduce it in order to be optimally living and thriving.
Yes. Martin, this has been incredible conversation. I really, hope that people listening to it, of course, will take on some of the tips that you've already shared, but also start to think about really engaging with someone like yourself to really bring new changes to their lifestyles, because we all know, if we think about it, that there's a lot of room for change, and especially when people are going through healing journeys, but actually even if they're not. Martin, thank you so much for being here today.
It's always a pleasure catching up with you, and it's been way too long, and I'm glad to see that you're well.
Thank you so much. And just last note for anyone listening or watching, all of Martin's information is going to be in the show notes. Please do reach out and engage with him, and be well and healthy. Thank you.